thank you, my special honor.
It's just the it's just the ethics part.
Wow, Matt is here today.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's stand for a moment of silence for world peace. Please sit.
I appreciate it, thank you.
I will now read the Sunshine Statement. In accordance with the Public Meetings NJSA 10:46 et sec, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by advertising in the Record and posting notice in the Board of Administration Building, Padavano Education Center, and filing notice with the City Clerk. I hereby call the organization meeting of Hackensack Board of Education, Wednesday, January 4th, 2023, in the Hackensack High School Media Center at 6:17 p.m. This is the annual organization meeting of the Hackensack Board of Education. So the procedure is a bit different. First of all, the current board members will be noted in the first roll call, as the existing board is still active until the new board is sworn in. Roll call. Mr. Bendezu is absent. Mr. Carroll?
Present.
Mr. Coleman?
Present.
Mr. Goodman?
Present.
Ms. Maury?
Present.
Mr. Oates,
Present.
Mr. Powell, Mr. Rodriguez,
Here.
Ms. Somerville,
Present.
Mr. James Vickery Scott. Okay, so now I will not call a quorum because the quorum is not required at this time. I will just move on to the election results. The slate of candidates for the three-year terms are as follows by number of votes received. Demetrius Carroll received 3,683 votes and prevailed. Michael Scott James Vickery received 3,274 votes and prevailed. Lizette Cordora Outen received 3,102 votes and prevailed. It is now time to administer the oath of office. Firstly, I will read the oath of office just once for all three members in that order. Lizette Cordora Outen, Demetrius Carroll, Michael Scott James Vickery. In the instance where I say state your name, you will say your name when you are taking the oath. I state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education, that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A:12-1, that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Sworn and subscribed to before me this 4th day of January, 2023. No individual shall be required to swear or affirm the part of the oath which states, so help me God. So shall we proceed to the podium? Lizette Cordora Outen?
Yes.
Do I administer?
Yes, please.
Okay. I, state your name,
Lisette Cordero Elton.
do solemnly swear or affirm.
Yes. Oh, keep reading.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to keep it. Yeah, go ahead.
I, Lisette Cordero Elton, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I, Lisette Cordero Elton, do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of a member of Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A:12-1, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Inside. Here and there.
I'm a lefty.
That's okay. Congratulations. Welcome you to the board. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. I'm a hugger, I'm a hugger.
Thank you. Demetrius Sarah? Yes.
I, Demetrius Carroll, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same, and the government established in the United States and this state, under the authority of the people, so help me God. I, Demetrius Carroll, do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of the Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to R.S.19:4-1, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A:12-1, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Signature. Congratulations. Pleasure working with you. Michael Scott James Vickery. And Jeff.
I, Michael Scott James Vickery, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the government established in the United States and to this state, under the authority of the people. So help me God. I, Michael Scott James Vickery, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19:4-1, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A:12-1, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. So I now invite Ms. Lizette Houghton to take a seat. Mr. Goodman. Okay, so the next order of business, now that all the our new board member is seated and everyone else is sworn in, I will ask our attorney to read our policy on nominating officers.
Yes, and I went over that before with the board members, but basically what it boils down to is whenever you're making a nomination, it's a nomination. It's not like making a motion. There are no seconds that are required. So somebody will make a nomination, and then after people go through their nominations, there will be a roll call taken, and a roll call in nomination order that you'll go through. Should somebody get a majority at that point, it's over. Should somebody not get the majority, you start back again from the beginning. And at that point, there's going to be another roll call vote. And at that time, either the nominees can voluntarily withdraw or those who made the nomination can withdraw. So you go back again into that. So that's the way the process will go. The pro tem chair will ask for nominations for the president. And after there's a president elected, she will then step down.
Okay, so I will now request nomination for the president.
I nominate Michael Scott James Vickery for president.
Yes.
So first one is Michael. Okay. Anyone else?
Marlene Somerville.
Anyone else? Nominations are closed, so I will ask for votes in accordance with the nominations. So the first one is this. Okay. So for Michael Scott Vickery, Mendezu is absent. Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Cordora Alton?
Yes.
Mr. James Vickery?
Yes.
Ms. Maury?
Yes.
Mr. Oates?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Abstain.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Somerville?
No.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 yeses.
Yes.
So that means that the nomination of Mr. James Scott Vickery was successful, and he is now the president of the board for the calendar year 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, so now we will open the nominations for vice president.
I nominate Anthony Rodriguez.
All right. Oh, thank you. So we have Anthony Rodriguez. Is there another nomination? All right. Okay, so we have Mr. Rodriguez. We have Ms. Trustee Maury.
Is somebody here next to me?
Anyone else? All right, so we will close
Antonary one, Maury.
nominations for vice president. And being that Mr. Rodriguez was first.
Yes,
we
I'll do the
will-
roll call for Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Mendezu is absent. Mr. Carroll?
No.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Cordora Alton?
Yes.
Mr. James Vickery Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Maury?
No.
Mr. Oates?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
No.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Miss Somerville, sorry.
No.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 noes. The fives have it. Can you confirm, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, you can call, you can call the roll for Ms. Mowry, but
But right now,
Right.
see, but the part that, but you said whoever voted yes cannot vote again,
right. exactly.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
they
so
can't vote
whoever,
again.
okay.
It's like a
So,
ballot.
okay, good. So I will follow your instructions. Ms. Maury, votes for Ms. Maury. Mr. Bendezo is absent. Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman cannot vote, Mr. Alton, Miss Alton cannot vote, Mr. James Vickery cannot. Ms. Maury,
Yes.
Mr. Oates cannot vote again. Mr. Powell,
What are we voting for now? I'm sorry.
you're voting for Ms. Maury, Vice President.
Yes.
And Mr. Rodriguez cannot vote. Ms. Somerville.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 5 against 4.
Yes.
And Mr. Anthony Rodriguez is the Vice President for 2023 calendar year for the board.
All right, thank you.
The next item, sorry, I did not tell you this, but the ethics, sorry. The next one on here is item 7, the Code of Ethics. Matt Lee is here, and he
Yes.
will be doing a presentation for us.
Okay, so we welcome Mr. Matt Lee, who is the representative for New Jersey School Boards Association.
Might be really terrible. How you doing, Alan? Evening, all. Congratulations to all the new members and the new officers of the Hackensack Board. As mentioned, my name is Matt Lee. I'm the school board's rep from Fort Bergen County from the New Jersey School Boards Association. And as part of what I do in terms of training, I will go out to boards of education, particularly around reorganization time, and talk about the Code of Ethics, which is required by boards to discuss at least once a year. Of course, you have that in your agenda, and that would suffice, but this presentation is meant to give you a lot more depth and context around what the code means to board members on a day-to-day basis. So let us start with this piece here, where we talk about the fact that as schools officials, you do have the honor of serving the interests of the public. And in carrying out that duty, we need to ask ourselves how we hold ourselves accountable to the public. How are we different than a volunteer would be? And also, what are the standards of ethical conduct that sets the minimum expectations for behavior from board members? A lot of this derives from the School Ethics Act. The School Ethics Act says it's essential for the conduct of board members to hold the respect and the confidence of the people that they serve. And it also goes on to say that board members and administrators must avoid conduct which is in violation of the public trust or which creates a justifiable impression among the public that such trust is being violated. And we'll talk about what that justifiable impression can mean a little further in. When we talk about who is accountable from an ethics perspective, we talk about the fact that this applies to all school officials in some ways. So in terms of the conflicts of interest components of ethics, both board members and administrators, and also surprisingly, NJSBA staffers are responsible for minding conflicts of interest and also for filling out disclosure statements each year that you all do in terms of personal/relative and also financial disclosures. In terms of the Code of Ethics and the mandatory training requirements for board members, those apply to just board members in public school districts and also in charter school trustees as well. School Ethics Act established the School Ethics Commission, which is the body that oversees board members' compliance with the Code of Ethics. It also established the conflicts of interest or what the nature of those would be. It established the mandatory training requirements for which the NJSBA is the only approved provider of that training. The Code of Ethics came around about 9 years later and was actually derived from a code that the NJSBA members themselves developed for themselves in the mid-70s. And then finally, the disclosure statements that we talked about, where board members outline the personal or relative presence of folks that may present conflicts to them in their district, and also any financial intersection that board members may have with the district as well. I'll go through the code quickly. I know you have that on your agendas, and the package that I left for you all has a copy of the code in it as well. I just wanted to point out that at the bottom of these slides, we have the standards that the School Ethics Commission will look at in order to determine if there's been a violation of that piece of the code. So starting with tenet A, there are 10 tenets, A through J. It says, I will uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes shall be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures. Basically, this just points out that you are sitting state officials, power of which is derived from the legislature through the DOE, and that you are to use only legal and ethical approaches in order to make changes within your district. You are also beholden to enforce the laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Ed. B, I will make decisions in terms of the welfare of children and will seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing. There are any number of different reasons that bring board members to their service on their boards. And it may be that a very particular item interested you in order to entice you to run. But once you are seated as a board member, you're reminded that you are there to serve all of the children of the district regardless of any distinguishing characteristics. C is where we learn what our role is as board members. It states, I will confine my board action to policy making, planning, and appraisal, and I would help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them. What this does is it tells you that you are a policy-making body. You are not to be involved in the day-to-day management of school districts. You are the planning function of the district in terms of long-term planning, strategic planning, and setting goals for both the superintendent and for the district. And that you are to oversee that through an appraisal function. And that is the board member's role. Anything outside of that is typically management functions that are delegated to your superintendent. D, here's where we learn some of the things that are not supposed to be done by board members. I will carry out my responsibility not to administer the schools. Here's where we learn that we are not managers of what happens day to day in the district, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are well run. And here we make the point that board members individually don't have any authority. They must work in concert with fellow board members and to use their authority to exercise that oversight function in the district. E, I will recognize that the authority rests with the Board of Education and will make no personal promises or take any private action that may compromise the board. Once again, board members individually have no authority. They must work together. They must work to build consensus and to enact change through the action of the body. And also, board members can't make any private promises in order to take some action for constituents, students, etc., because they don't have authority to do so. F, I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups or to use the schools for personal gain or the gain of friends. As I mentioned before, there may be any number of things that bring people to board service, but when they become seated as school officials, they are meant to leave those partisan special interests behind and to consider what is best for students. G, I will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools, which if disclosed would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. In all other matters, I will provide accurate information and in concert with my fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for a school. Very clearly at the beginning of this, we're talking about the confidential nature of some of the material that comes before boards of education. These are outlined in the Open Public Meetings Act. There are 9 exceptions to what happens, to what can happen in an executive session. Everything else that happens when the board acts as a body should happen in public. In addition, we talk about the fact that the Board of Education is basically a conduit for the aspirations of the community, to express those to the administration and to plan for those through its planning function in order to ensure that the schools are meeting the aspirations of the community as a whole. H, I will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer. Boards of education should realize that the personnel function of the district belongs to the superintendent. When they do appoint someone through motions on the agenda, they are doing so through the lens of their planning policy and oversight functions. And that is that their superintendent is doing the proper job vetting the people that he or she brings and recommends, that they have planned for this person in terms of budget and educational program, and that that appointment will help them meet the needs that they have defined with the administration. I will support and protect school personnel and proper performance of their duties. And this is pretty plain language. You can see in the standards, violation would constitute action taken which resulted in undermining, opposing, or compromising someone who is doing their duty as school personnel. And finally, J, I will refer all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer and will act on the complaints at public meetings only after failure of an administrative solution. This refers to folks who are familiar with the concept known as chain of command. Chain of command says that board members should refer folks to the, when there's a problem brought to them, refer them to the school personnel closest to the issue to begin. And if proper resolution does not happen at that juncture, then it moves up the administrative chain of command till finally it may land on the superintendent's desk. If there's not a proper resolution there or an acceptable resolution, that item may be brought before the board for resolution. If board members have become involved in that prior to it being brought to the board to be disposed of, then the board member has likely compromised his or her ability to render an impartial decision on that issue. And that is why board members are advised to engage the chain of command, give a heads up to your superintendent, and then leave the matter until it's brought before the board properly. When we talk about enforcing the act, we mentioned earlier that the School Ethics Commission is the body that is charged with enforcing the act. The body is 9 members appointed by the governor for a 3-year term, a maximum of 5 from any one political party. The composition is always 5 non-school officials, 2 school board members, 2 school administrators. It is not always completely staffed, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. The output of the SEC is 2 main areas. First is advisory opinions. The second is ethics complaints. In advisory opinions, they can be requested only by a school official, and they are about proposed conduct or activity. And it is asking the SEC for guidance on whether or not going through with that proposed activity would constitute some kind of violation of the code or the act. You see that the gold note underneath there says that can be made public needs 6 votes of the SEC. Those 6 required votes are irrespective of whether or not there are actually 6 members on the SEC at the time. And it has fallen below 6 periodically, and that doesn't allow them to make advisory opinions public and, of course, provide guidance for the entire state when those can be made public. Also, when the SEC does get back up to full strength, if you will, and they do take some advisory opinions and make them public, they often do them in big batches, and that creates a bit of a headache in trying to figure out how to stay compliant with all of that guidance. So important that those folks be present for those things. The other main thrust of the SEC is ruling on ethics complaints. As opposed to advisory opinions, ethics complaints can be filed by anyone, a member of the public, a member of the staff, etc. And they allege that a violation of the School Ethics Act or the Code of Ethics took place. And just as a frame of reference, in any given year, there are about 85 ethics complaints filed with the SEC and 35 advisory opinions requested. I'm not going to go through this. This is just some of the things to think about if you do file with the SEC. Basically, you have to provide all the evidence that you wish for them to consider. They are not an investigatory board. And yeah, so move on from there. So what are penalties that may be assessed if there is found to be a violation of the act? There's basically 4 sort of progressively serious penalties, and it starts on the left side of this slide in the gold with a reprimand. And the language that you see there is updated with some proposed definitions that are being considered by the State Board of Education, I believe, this month. And the descriptions are as follows. A reprimand is a rebuke by the commissioner that conduct violated standards but does not result in a formal resolution. The next one in terms of seriousness is a censure, and that is a formal disapproval by the commissioner once again, but is then publicized by the adoption of a resolution. The next 2 are fairly self-explanatory. They are a suspension, which is being barred from any activity as a board member for a designated period of time. And then the last piece is removal. So that is immediate termination from board membership or employment if you happen to be an administrator. This is what the penalty process looks like. Again, this is a very specific piece. This is about non-compliance for your mandatory training or your disclosure statements requirements. And once again, these are proposed regulations that are not quite in effect yet, but are being considered very soon. So if a member doesn't complete their mandatory training or disclosure statements by the required date, the SEC proposed a path that ties a penalty to the out of compliance completion date. So it's clear up front what the penalty may be. And basically it looks like this. So if there's after a just cause order is something that the SEC issues when you are out of compliance to give you an opportunity to explain why you're out of compliance. And if after the just cause order and before the SEC decision, you have completed whatever you're delinquent on, a censure will be assessed. If after the SEC decision and before the commissioner decision, because the commissioner is the one who metes out the final penalty, you will be suspended. And if after the commissioner decision, you finally do comply, you will be removed, unless, of course, just cause is shown. I'm not going to go through these cases. You have them in front of you, and I also have links at the end of the presentation. So if you want to read up on those cases, you are free to do so. Conflicts of interest. This calls for board members to recuse themselves if there's a benefit to themselves personally or to their immediate family member for any of the reasons listed up there, which basically have to do with some kind of unwarranted advantage, whether they be financial or gifts or some kind of a favor or something intended to influence. In the cases where that is present, board members are called upon to refrain from any discussion and refrain from any voting on those items. Once again, some proposed changes to the definitions of relationships. We saw in the prior slide that because board members may have immediate family or relatives within a district or involved in certain statewide labor negotiation units, it's important that we understand what is meant by immediate family, meant by a relative. So the current definition of an immediate family member is a spouse or a dependent child residing in the same household. The proposed revised definition says a spouse, civil union partner, domestic partner, or dependent child residing in the same household. When it comes to dependent child, currently any child claimed as a dependent on federal and state tax returns. The revised one says federal or state tax returns. And then finally, the relative piece, a spouse, natural or adopted child or parent or sibling. It becomes much more expansive in the new proposed definition, and it basically follows the accountability regulations definition, which is quite broad. So you can see all of the relative categories listed there. And that's whether related to you by blood, marriage, or adoption. When it comes to hiring and personnel, You may not hire into the district a relative of the board member or a chief school administrator. And it says there may be exceptions, and typically that has to do if there's some kind of a hard to find teaching discipline, and you can demonstrate to the executive county superintendent that you have done an exhaustive search and the only person that you come up with is someone who happens to have a relative on the board, you can make that case to them. But generally speaking, you can't hire anybody who's a relative of a board member or the superintendent. Now, of course, you can run for the board if you have somebody who's already working in the district, and that's what some of these pieces address. So if you have a relative who already works in the district, a board member can't take part in any employment matters concerning the superintendent or any of the supervisors in the chain of command between the relative and the superintendent. And that comes down to things like hiring a new superintendent. For example, you can't take part in the search, selection, or vote to hire the superintendent. You can't take part in the interviews of search firms. You can't help in defining criteria or, do any evaluations, do any contract discussions. So you're completely out of that if you have a relative working in the district. And on the bottom left of the slide that you see there, if it happens to be an administrator who comes into the district and already has a relative working in there, the administrator is not able to exercise direct authority over that employee. It has to be done by another administrator. When it comes to collective bargaining, as of this advisory opinion issued in 2017, the A there means the advisory opinion, 24 is their numbering system, 17 is the year. If you look at columns starting on the left, the relationship to board members defined. The next column says whether that person is a current member of a statewide public teachers union. The next two are participate in negotiations, yes or no, vote to ratify the contract, yes or no. If you have a spouse, a dependent child, a child who's not a dependent or a relative who works in the district, it's a no on both counts. You can't be involved in negotiations, can't vote. If yourself, spouse, or dependent child works out of district, is in a union, you may, absent any other conflict, not participate in negotiations, but after everything is settled, you may be briefed on the contract and vote finally. The other conflict most usually looks like that relative having some kind of elevated union activity, whether that be a building rep or on the negotiations team or a local officer. That might constitute a conflict. And if you have any questions about that or any questions about anything from an ethics perspective, we always recommend that you consult with your board attorney. The final row there, if you have a child who's not a dependent or a relative who works out of district, you may participate in negotiations, once again, absent another conflict, and you may also vote to ratify the contract. And again, this is new advice that is a bit more lax than was in place from about 2009 to the issue of this advisory opinion. We talked about other possible conflicts, and I mentioned this one here. The immediate family member or relative has heightened union involvement. And then the last piece on this is another advisory opinion, A1018, that said endorsement of a candidate by a local or statewide union does not create a per se future conflict unless a financial contribution is given and is intended to influence the member. And that's, once again, is a bit more relaxed than it used to be. Once again, I'm going to skip by those decisions. A couple of advisory opinions. I'm just going to go to one that I think might be most interesting, and that is this first one here. A board member who is a full-time bus driver in another district does not belong to the union in that district and does not pay dues to the union in that district. Questioned the SEC and asked, given the fact that he has basically separated himself from the union, could he negotiate in the district that he's on the board in with the bus drivers union there? And what they said was that no, since both of the districts belong to the same union and are affiliated, the board member is precluded from being involved once again until the final vote is needed, because what they're saying is that the board member does benefit from the activities of that union, whether or not he belongs to it. So that was just one of the quick advisory opinions. This last one covers a number of advisory opinions that are fairly related, and they have to do with activity in outside organizations. Some of them just sort of community organizations that are trying to benefit the community, and some of them business activities. And basically, the outcome of all of these cases is that organizations that are not under the control of the school district are not, there's no barriers to board members participating in those. Unless, of course, there are interests of those organizations that come before the board. And in that case, once again, if you have questions about that, consult your board attorney, but board members should recuse themselves if there are things that are being considered by the board that are related to those. And it also said that if you are working in a company that may sell products to your own school district or other school districts, you shouldn't be the representative of that company in that capacity to boards of education. Mandatory training. Every board member in their first term goes through mandatory training in each of the first 3 years. Governance 1, which is by the end of year 1. And once again, there's a proposed change to those regulations that would make that have to be completed by the first 90 days. And that's a pretty big change. Once again, not in effect yet, and wouldn't affect anybody who was sworn in tonight, but might affect folks from the April elections if they get it in place quick enough. So governance 1, basic skills and knowledge. We talk about CUSAC, HIB, CSA evaluation, Open Public Meetings Act, and the Code of Ethics. Year 2 covers finance and labor issues from the board perspective. Year 3 covers student achievement. And governance 4, which is in the first year of every subsequent term. So you don't have 3 years to complete governance 4, you have to do it in that first year. That's basically a legal update. Just to be clear, NJSBA once again provides all of this training. We're the only approved body that provides this. We do have multiple options for everybody. There's really no reason that you shouldn't be able to complete your your mandatory training. We do in person, once again, after the pandemic. We do live virtual. And just a heads up about live virtual, they're usually across 3 nights. And if you don't go to every one of those 3 nights, you will not be awarded credit for that. So just be aware of that if that's the format that you choose. And then finally, there's a self-paced online that can be done at any time. Just don't wait till December 31st, right? Disclosure statements. New school officials need to file their disclosure statements within 30 days of start of employment or service. Returning school officials have until the April 30 deadline. Your school business administrator is typically the one who's going to send you the links to complete that, and will also issue gentle reminders if you don't. Volunteering in schools. You're not prevented as a board member from volunteering in schools, but there are certain parameters with which you have to be in compliance. You have to limit the degree of involvement with students and staff. You can't be an executive position over students or staff or money from the district. So you need to question whether the volunteer activity you will be in will put you in the building within such frequency that you might be considered enmeshed in the building, is a phrase that the SEC uses. So if you're there so often that you might be considered an employee, you're there way too much. Do consult your board attorney if you have a question about a specific activity, and before you undertake volunteering for that activity. The typical okay activity, if you will, that we usually use is like reading on Dr. Seuss Day. That's a one-time volunteer, non-executive kind of activity. Always a good idea if you're going to be in the schools for volunteering as a board member to give your superintendent a heads up that, hey, I'm going to be in the building. If you are in the building for a volunteer activity, go do that volunteer activity and then get out of the building. It's not a chance to check up on things and walk around the building, right? Okay, let's move past volunteering. Interview committees, we talked about the fact that superintendents are in charge of the personnel function in the the district, I should say. And the latest guidance from the SEC on this is this A31-15, which is an advisory opinion that says board member involvement in interviews for positions other than that of superintendent is not encouraged. Question we always ask boards, how many employees does the board have? Got one, right? Only employ the superintendent. Everybody else works for the superintendent. So an earlier SEC advisory opinion, A04-12, said that if the superintendent decides to include board members in an interview process for high-level administrative positions, he or she may choose to do so, but there's a limit to what the board members' participation can be in those cases, and it is really limited to observation and assessment. The final recommendation is just the superintendent's purview, not the board members. Social media. So board members don't give up their First Amendment rights when they become members of the Board of Education, but they do have certain boundaries that they need to adhere to in exercising their free speech, because they are no longer just public citizens, they are officials of the state. And the SEC looks at complaints for board members who are speaking out and ask whether a reasonable member of the public could perceive that the school official is speaking in his or her official capacity or pursuant to his or her official duties. And that is to make sure that, you know, the board members will own up to the fact that the things that they're saying are made in their capacity as a private citizen, not as a member of the board, and that the statements they are making represent only their personal opinions and has nothing to do with the rest of the board. I think the important thing that they've emphasized over the last couple of years is that, number one, certainly you have to make that disclaimer when you're making public statements. But two, even if you use that disclaimer, sometimes the nature of the content that you're putting out there can make that disclaimer invalid, not effective. If you say, I'm only speaking for myself, but then you begin to talk about things that the board has discussed and deliberated on, well, then you're clearly not representing just yourself, you're representing the board as well. So you do have to be careful, not just to make sure you put the disclaimer in, but also guard the language that you're using as well. Okay. Last couple slides. Do recommend that the board develops a list of conflicts and revisits that list periodically to make sure that all board members' situations are understood and that they are watching what it is they participate in terms of voting and discussion. Your board attorney should always be the final word on ethics issues, and I would highly recommend using them as a resource when you're in doubt about what you may want to participate in. And the last piece is school board notes, which you all get in print or digitally or both, does publish the advisory opinions when they're released and is good guidance for you as things are issued by the SEC. And there's a links that we have for the cases, so if you want to explore any of those, you also have them in print. So, questions? Okay.
So you didn't cover it in here, right? But just a quick question.
Sure.
How do we define work groups? So work groups are made up of, the district has work groups. They're made up of citizens and members of the school district that report into the superintendent. Is it okay for board members to attend these specific work groups, or is that any sort of conflict of interest?
I don't see it as a conflict. I mean, should ask your board attorney.
No, I will double check, but I just wanted to see if there's any potential conflict of interest since they actually reported to the superintendent, and it may be seen as your participation is taken as you know, as a board member that's sitting here legally is A-okay with what is being said or what's not being said.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably wise for board members to consider what they say in those venues, because you could be, once again, supposed, or you could be interpreted as having spoken for the board. So you would have to be clear what it is you say in those groups. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense, but since they're private, there's not a necessity to understand what was being said, right? There is no minutes, there's no agenda, there's nothing that comes back out of those meetings that come back to the rest of the board. So you would be advised as to what happened.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what comes back to the board. What it matters is what's interpreted by the folks that you're talking to, and whether or not you are speaking, you know, from your position as a board member or the spokesperson for the board even. So you have to guard against that. Sure. Anything else?
I appreciate it.
Sure. I just need to get my thing out of here. Yeah, Lance.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
You too.
Board members' attendance, can you just touch on that for a minute? Like,
Sure.
we seem to have, it's a recurring question
Mhm.
that keeps coming. I know you addressed it the last time when we had this, and then
Yeah.
Kay Parker. We have spoken about it several times. But just, not just for us, but for the public too, just go over the attendance policy.
Yeah, so
If you don't mind, thank you.
it's one of the few areas that board members can take action against one of their own members, and that is for missing 3 meetings.
3 meetings.
The important part of that is that meetings is very, very loosely understood.
Right.
So do you count workshops? Do you count committee meetings? Probably not, but these are questions that come up.
Right.
So yeah, you know, 3 consecutive meetings
consecutive.
without good excuse, you know, you have to, there's a process for it. You notice the board member that their attendance is going to be discussed, and the board can eventually take action to remove that board member.
Okay.
But I, once again, would consult with the board attorney as to the process and make sure you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
For volunteer activities,
Yeah.
if you're volunteering, say, for the track team, and I'm going to, no.
Nope. That's a no.
So none of the sports team, if you
Nope.
wanted to volunteer, the coach to,
No, if you want to show up one day and take tickets, no big deal. If you want to put yourself in a position of coaching, you're in an executive position over students, and that's
So you
no
can't
good
do
for
it.
board members. I'll defer to your board attorney, but that's my understanding.
You're right.
all right, I won't.
Okay.
See you before I volunteer.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
thank you once again, folks. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Just a reminder to everyone, there's, you know, the official sheet to sign and return to Ms. Singh.
Thank you, will do, thank you.
So now we are moving on. At every public meeting, we are, have public comments, and so this is the time for public comments. A participant must sign in and be recognized by the presiding officer. Each statement shall be limited to 3 minutes. Please direct your statements to me, and then if there is a response that we're going to give, I will do that at the end. So we are open. The microphone is here to your left.
Hi, Kassim Gaines, Hackensack. First, I just wanted to address, first, Happy New Year. I will do that first. Happy New Year, everyone. I wanted to actually refer back to the last Board of Ed meeting and start by assuming and accepting and acknowledging my share of responsibility for calling out at the end of the meeting in response to Mr. Sanchez when he was speaking. However, I do have to say, I think that the response that Mr. Lane received after there was more calling out was stronger than it needed to be. I think tonally inappropriate and inconsistent with the way that I was treated when I called out. And I think that there should be equitable treatment for people when they stand at a microphone or have any sort of discourse with the board. So I wanted to also congratulate and welcome Ms. Cordero Outen. I had your son a while ago, a long time ago, I think it feels like, but I'm very happy to see you on here. And I did want to truly, in the spirit of equity, voice my incredible surprise and disappointment, I think, that there were so many people that voted for the board to, for the 4th consecutive year, have 2 men in leadership positions of this board. I think that is actually quite astonishing. President James Vickery, I recall several meetings ago, you saying there should be more women on the board. I hope women run against me when I run. I hope a woman replaces me. I think I recall you even saying, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think that was said. I am surprised that so many men voted for double male leadership, but then when I sit back and I reflect on it, 3 of the men ran together as a team of 3 men and saw no issue with there not being a woman on their ticket for the Board of Ed, and they were running to replace 3 women on the board. So I'm disappointed in that. Whether it's Trustee Maury, Trustee Somerville, Trustee Cordero Outen could have been elected to one of those positions because President James Vickery, on your first day, you were sworn in as Vice President. So it's not about experience, it's not about time served, it is about equity, and I think that that's the way that some of these isms work. They work through justification, whether it's racism, whether it's sexism, there's always a reason to do the status quo. And I think that when we talk about being anti-racist, anti-sexist, it takes active steps to do that. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. So is there anybody online or however you say it, on Zoom, whatever? All right.
Nice.
So we will move, tonight we have our consent agenda. And those items are referring to our meeting dates. And then the basically the order of our meetings, of how they'll be, how we will run our meetings and what components will be in those meetings. And then the committee reports that we'll have. So we will do, so that is, if I could have a motion for the consent agenda for items 1 and 2.
Second.
Mr. Carroll,
Carroll.
Mr. Powell.
Carroll
Second.
motion. Powell second.
And then if you'll do a roll call, Ms. Singh, please.
Yes. Mr. Bendezu is absent. Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Ms. Cordero Alton?
Yes.
Mr. James Vickery?
Yes.
Ms. Maury?
Yes.
Mr. Oates?
Yes.
Mr. Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Somerville?
Yes.
Motion passes.
You didn't call Mr. Coleman? Did you call Mr. Coleman? Okay, I'm sorry, I missed it. I apologize.
That's
Thanks,
okay.
thanks, Ms. Singh. Sorry, my bad hearing.
All right.
That's okay.
All right.
Motion passes.
So we will move to board comments. Let's start with Ms. Maury.
All right, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Feliz Año Nuevo. Want to welcome everyone back. Want to congratulate our new trustee, Mrs. Cordero Otten. Welcome back, Mr. Carroll, Trustee Carroll, and I know you have a long name, but we call you Scott.
That's fine.
And Trustee James Vickery. Looking forward to a brand new board, and that's pretty much it. See you guys in 2 more weeks. Have a good
Sounds
evening.
good. Thank you. Ms. Somerville.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Probably don't need it. I'm sure I'm loud enough that you can hear. So, Happy New Year, welcome back. It's nice to see a packed audience, even if you guys were mandated to be here tonight. Welcome. Miss Story, how are you? How are you doing? Thank you for the lovely note that you sent me. I really appreciate it. It was very welcome, warmed my heart to get a note from you at 3 a.m. in the morning, Miss Story. Really, you should be taking it. But thank you. Thank you for that. To Lizette, welcome. It's nice to have another female voice on the board. Looking forward to great, things from you. Demetrius, welcome back. And Scott, same thing. Welcome back. Congratulations on being renominated as president of the board, and looking forward to, really good things. Mr. Gaines, thank you for coming up and speaking. And I definitely, appreciate exactly what you said, right? I think that everybody here has an opportunity for you to vote for whomever you feel like that is your personal preference. But how I see the board, and hopefully that, sometime in the future for Hackensack, we can move to this method or this methodology, is that all of us here are volunteers, right? And everybody here has something that they think they can offer, or they would never have run for this job or run for this position, right? It takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of dedication, but everybody here has put in the time. And I think everybody here that sits in this chair should have an opportunity, right, to serve. It should not be, and this is not calling out anybody in particular, it should not be targeted to one specific group of people or specific individuals based on any factors whatsoever, whether or not it is an ism, whether or not it's a group activity, whether or not it's a function, it's a friendship. Everybody here deserves a term at the table. So hopefully moving forward under some other model that we can all sit here and agree to develop, the leadership role on the board can rotate out so that somebody like Mr. Powell that have already served 2 terms doesn't qualify for a leadership role until somebody else has gone through. Scott, you have had 4 terms now with this term coming. Could have been Mr. Oates, could have been Mr. Coleman, could have been Mr. Carroll. And I am always an opponent of transparency. I even spoke to Mr. Carroll before and asked him if he would have thought to run for the position. And he gave a firm no because his job had changed and he didn't have the time to put in. But I am a perfect proponent of everybody deserves a term because everybody has something to offer. Right. So again, nothing on your leadership skills or availability. But I think if you're going to put in the time to volunteer to be here, you can get an opportunity to recognize and exercise your talent because everybody has something that they can bring to the table. So again, hopefully for 2024, this can be a process that we put in place, and this can be something that we move towards to adhere to so nobody else feels targeted or feels left out. That's not why we're here, and that's not what we would like to do. So thank you everybody for coming. I will end, my soliloquy and have a good evening. Get home safely, please.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Happy New Year, everyone. Good to see you all. I just have a couple of quick comments. Ms. Story, it's good to see you again. Like Mr. Carroll said, my dentist is profiting, you know? You remember? But I take them to work with me and I share it with my coworkers and they look forward to it. You know, so thank you. If I could snatch one or two, I'll snatch these before I leave. But I take them to work and I look forward to them. Thank you so much. But just a quick comment, Mr. Gaines, you're the only public comment, but thank you. You always come, you always speak, and I really appreciate what you said. It's because actually I was going to make a couple of comments, but you stole my line, but thank you. But let me just add a couple of things to that. And it's not against anyone here, like Miss Somerville said. I nominated Miss Somerville. There's a reason why I did that. I knew she would not get the votes, but I nominated her. There's a method to my madness. And I know every time we nominate a female, it's a block. To me, I see a problem with that. I'm just being honest. I have been on the board, I'm the longest serving member, and I've done my time. I'm just here cruising, trying to do the best I can. And when I'm finished, I'm gone. I'm not a lifer here, but like Ms. Somerville said, we're all elected officials. We all ran, we all put work into it, so we're all equals. And the equality is important. And one of the things I've noticed with this board is whenever there's positions coming up, we canvass each other. And this is a fact. I don't like it, okay? Can I speak? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We canvass each other. I don't think it's right. I think I went to the conference in Atlantic City. It's my 4th year of going there. And when you listen to people speak, they'll tell you, you look for the best candidate. At my job, we look for the best candidate. And like I said, congratulations to Scott, congratulations, Mr. Rodriguez. And I look forward to a wonderful year with both of you. And I'm sure you'll do good things, but I just think going forward, what is done cannot be undone. You're nominated, we respect the process, and I respect both of you, but, and it's a big but, we have these two ladies here. I've had a chance to interact with them, and I've worked with them here, and they're two very smart individuals, and I mean that. I'm not just saying off the top of my head. Ms. Maury, Ms. Somerville, very qualified woman. Very educated, well-spoken, smart, articulate, highly motivated, team players. Why can't they serve? That's all I'm saying. Why can't they serve? Why can't anybody else serve? But I just had to piggyback on what Mr. Gaines said, because I came with a prepared statement, because I don't like that. I think we should try to move away from it and just rotate it out, you know, let everyone has a chance. If someone said they don't want to run, it's okay. But these two lovely women here should have a chance to serve. Even going forward, they need leadership positions because they're smart, and not nominating them and keep blocking them. It's an injustice to the board and to the people of Hackensack that they don't get a chance to showcase their ability, their God-given talents. And I hope, like I said, it's not a knock. I congratulate you, and I will work with you 100%. But going forward, let's look at other people and see what they bring to the table and what their skill set is and their qualities, and let's work with them. And if they stumble along the way, we can all pick them up and give them an opportunity. But I was very disappointed that, you know, one of these ladies was not voted on to serve in a capacity of even vice president. And it bodes well for us. It bodes well for the community. It bodes well for people who look at us as role models, especially young girls, that these ladies can also achieve it. And in this country, it's democracy, it's equality, and justice stands for all. And no one, it's not a monopoly where one person should just continue to do it over and over. We all are qualified, every single one of us. I've done 2 years, thank you, but I'm good to go. It gets lonely at the top sometimes. And I just want to serve as a board member when I can and work with everyone 100%. So let's just take it food for thought and don't take it personal. Like Ms. Somerville said, going forward for next year, let's look around and just give somebody else a chance and we can rotate it out and everyone gets a chance to serve. That's it. So Happy New Year to everyone. Be safe. I look forward to a prosperous year. It was a rough year last year, a little rough last 2 years, going into 3, March coming. And I just wish everyone the best in the family. I was absent at a meeting. I just want to let everyone know my uncle died. It's my mom's only brother, and I was not here. We were grieving. That's why I was absent from the meeting. I told Ms. Singh to tell the board why I was absent. So I'm sure she passed on, but if you didn't know, I lost a family member and we're still grieving. And I thought it wise to stay with my mom and just grieve with my mom and family as opposed to being here. I thought that's normal, good choice that I made. And I just wanted to share that with you. Keep us in your prayers as we continue to mourn. And I just want to say thank you. And to all my board members, I look forward to a wonderful year in Hackensack of doing great things. And let's focus on the kids going forward. The education, hiring more teachers, and just focus on our kids. That's what we're here for. Focus on them, uplift them, and try to do the best we can for our community. Thank you, and Godspeed going home tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Oates?
So I feel lost trustee Fowler. Sorry about that. Didn't realize, didn't know that. Passed.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it. Take it personal. I wasn't canvassed for any position.
Microphone.
Take your mics, Mike.
You're saying don't take it personal. I wasn't canvassed for any position. I don't know. Sorry if I'm a hater because I thought that A-Rod and Scott did a great job last year and they were going to do a great job this year. I don't think I'm a sexist. I don't think I'm a misogynist. I don't think all that. I don't think I'm a hater. I just thought that they did a great job last year. I thought there were some roadblocks in their way that were put there politically, maybe some nonsense that could have been avoided and should have been avoided if we're team players. Could have had a smoother year, and I think this is going to be a great year. Ms. Maury and Ms. Somerville, I think you guys are fantastic. There's no knock against you that I didn't vote for you for vice president. I'm sorry. I love working with you on policy. You guys, it's fantastic. Don't call me out for being a hater because I thought that they'd be better. Sorry, ain't gonna happen. All right, not gonna happen. Take that for what you will, don't do it. And you, Mr. Powell, talking about how you want to see it, it's so great, but it was Miss Maury's grace last year when she stepped down from vice presidency that allowed us to come to a vote. You didn't see fit for her to be vice president last year. So take it easy with that talk, because last year was a debacle because she was the one that stepped down and let the vote take place for vice presidency. This is what happened. This is what happened. Yes. And it was because she was the bigger person in that moment. That's why we were able to get that done. With that being said, we have to work together and trust each other. Trust each other. If I'm on a committee for this, the board members on the other that are not on that committee have to trust the committee's work. If I am selected to interview somebody for whatever position and the other board members aren't there, you have to trust the other board members' work. There's 9 of us. 9 very smart, intellectual, and people that care. I do believe we all care, without a doubt.
I'm a little
This
confused.
is not a going back and forth.
No,
This
no,
is-
it's not a little confused. Just please clarify the part about being a hater. I didn't
Well,
even say anything.
A
about
comment was
anybody.
directed that the 3 dads, I guess, for 3 dads, voted for 3 dads, ran against 3 women. No, I'm just putting it out there. That's it. It's not directed towards you. That's all. But in terms of the board relationship, we need to trust each other. The only way we're going to get things done for this district is to trust each other. We all do. We have a lot going on in our lives, a lot. I'm not trying to say, I'm standing up here and say that I got more going on than you do, or we're not going to have a contest about whose life is harder. We all have hard lives. We all got a lot going on. We're all at some point overtaxed, overstressed. Our marriages, relationships with our children. We're like ships passing in the night. I work 2 days a week. I'm in the firehouse. So two nights a week, I'm in the firehouse. I'm not home at all. I'm not there. I'm not in communication. I'm gone. So then I take tonight to come here to a board meeting, home tomorrow night, back in the firehouse Friday. We give up a lot. We give up a lot. We all do. We all sacrifice a lot. I put my heart and soul into this position, man. Don't get it twisted. I put everything I have into this position. On committees, I research, I try to make things better, I try to come up with creative ideas, I try to do the right thing. That, I think, is the bar we have to set. We have to trust each other. We have to put the work in. We can't decline to be on a committee. We can't just coast. We have to do the work because that is what is required. That is what this year is required. Nothing less is acceptable. Nothing at all. That's why I bring my kids to this district. That's why I love this town. I got my heart and soul in this town. I love this place. And I know everybody here does too. But that is the bar we have to set. That is it. Nothing less. We have to trust each other. Trust each other's abilities, trust each other's talents. If two people we have a committee and the committee says, no, this is the way to go, we don't have to redo the work and start shifting things around and start going crazy with meetings. No, these people said, this is the way to go. Trust me, trust us. When the policy committee gets together and we say this, we think this is the best option, bet, trust us, trust us, trust each other. Only then will we be able to put everybody in the position to succeed. Everybody have a great year.
Thank you.
We have the talent on this board to get things done. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to work. Go comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just so that I don't, I'm looking beyond the camera, whatever the screen back there. Mr. Rodriguez, I'm gonna let you go next because so I don't forget anybody. I think Mr. Coleman, you can go after Mr. Rodriguez.
Thanks. So congratulations and to Trustee Cordero Alton. Welcome back, Trustees Scott and Demetrius. I'm sorry, my internet is spotty. Trustee Powell, my condolences to you, sir. I had no idea. I know, believe me, I've lost family members that I know it's hard to grieve and deal. So, my heart goes out to you. I want to agree with Trustee Oates. We all have a lot going on and we all put a lot into, being on this board. I have to say, we do a lot of work. We've done a lot of positive things this year, and we will continue to do so. We can't coast. This is not for coasters. We have to get on. We have to show up. We have to go to committee meetings. That's where the job gets done. And we will continue to do so. Like I said, welcome back to you guys. And when I get back, and I'm sure I'll be back this weekend. We'll be ready to do some more work and get a lot done in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have really anything to add other to what Trustee Oates and Trustee Rodriguez said. Congratulations to Trustee Cordero Alton, Trustee Carroll, Trustee Scott Vickery, and to the new board. Congratulations to us all. And I hope we can continue the work that we've been doing. I think the trajectory that we've been on for the last year was good. I think it needed to continue. I think, hopefully this coming year, we can try to move away from any more divisiveness, any more incendiary comments. hopefully can take a back seat this year and we can actually concentrate on the work that needs to be done. I don't think anyone should ever have to apologize for, how they were born, how they look, or, the desire that they have as a father to be on a school board and try to do what's best for their kids that are in the school system. It wasn't a team of 3 men, it was 3 dads. And we made it very clear that we were 3 dads that had kids in the school systems and we wanted what was best for us. We did not set out to look to go up against women and defeat women. I'm not sure if that was the implication here, but I hope that going forward, just any kind of negative clouds that have been above this district for it seemed like some time now can stop. And everyone can now put on their, grown-up hat and treat this as it needs to be treated, which is a school board, and concentrating on making the school board as best it can be for the sake of our children. That's the only reason we're here. You don't want to beat a dead horse and reiterate what everyone said, but we all have lives. We all have other things that we could be doing. We're doing this voluntarily. So I hope that everyone can refocus, perhaps reassess what they're doing here and why they're here. And we can do the work that needs to be done and continue the work that has been done, which I think is pretty good. So congratulations to everyone. And here's to us for a great year going forward. And all the best to our administrators, our teachers, to our students. I think this is going to be an absolutely great year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Carroll?
Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
I want to start out by saying thank you to the community for voting for us. And I'm glad to be back working with everyone here. I know it may seem to the public like we don't get along. I know a lot of times it seems like that, but behind closed doors, we actually get a lot done. And I look forward to serving the community, serving this district. And again, it's about the kids. It's all about the kids, and that's what we're here for. And we work hard at it. And again, thank you for having faith in us. And I look forward to working with everyone here to accomplish our goals from last year and our new goals for this year. We're going to work hard at it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Ms. Cordero Alton?
It's my turn.
Yes, it is.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy holidays to all. Lance, I've known you for several
Forever.
years already. And so my deepest condolences to you and the family on that loss. Not sure when it happened, doesn't matter when it happened. Anytime you lose a family member, let alone someone who is kind of the patriarch, it's going to take a huge toll. I am very excited to be here. I am very excited to be participating with this specific group of people. I had the opportunity last year, right, 2021, to run with both Jen and Demetrius, as well as Josh Cohen. I wouldn't have done that if I didn't think that they were amazing people. The time that I spent campaigning with you, I already absolutely understand your goal. And I think, and I would like to believe that she absolutely has the exact same goals that we all do participating on this board in this city. That being said, I've come in, I'm coming in, and I'm trying to maintain status quo because I also believe very strongly in the team that I ran with
to be elected for the 2023 and through 2026. Again, with Demetrius and then with Scott. So I don't disagree that there should be everyone's opportunity to be in the position of either president or vice president. But I also think that it's voted on, right? So it's a matter of campaigning even from within, or showing where it is that you are the strongest and the best person for that position. So I say I come in with status quo in mind, but I'm also looking very forward to the November election where this opportunity will come up again. So there can be changes going forward, and there are still changes that can be made now with the group of people that we have here. So I'm super excited about that. I did take a note because I had already started certain trainings. So I did take, one of the trainings, and what it said was, listen, right? Talking is not always necessary. And so I intend to listen, and I intend to listen to the community. I intend to listen to the administration, but I also really intend to listen to each and every one of the trustees on this board. And I'm a logical person. I'm an emotional creature, first and foremost, but I am very logical. And so if you have a good idea, I'm really interested in it. And I want to know about it. And I want to be able to champion and get it done, as long as it's in line with what's in the best interest of the students and the community of Hackensack. And that includes the parents, the teachers, the staff. The other thing that I had made a note of when I was taking my class was, I'm going to be here to learn and work with all of you, with every single one of you. I'm the newbie, I'm the babes, right? So I'm going to be taking any and all guidance from every absolute end of this room. And I'm going to appreciate it. And I'm going to take away what I think I can work with, and hopefully make a difference and help in all of us making a difference here. I've suspended absolutely any and all preconceived notions that I may have had about anyone. And my whole goal is, this is day one for me. I've been waiting for day one, and day one has come. And I can see clearly, because I got cataract surgery in both eyes. The second one was just yesterday. So I can see clearly, and the hearing is working. So I'm looking forward to all of it. And I just appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I have new glasses, I too can see.
Thank you. So, am I missing somebody? No. Okay, no. So we have an opportunity. This is a new year, and so I'm a church person, and it's just like when a baby comes into a congregation, that forever changes that body of people, right? So they are a new body of folks. So with Ms. Cordero Outen coming onto our board, we are a new body of people. So we have an opportunity to start fresh and figure out how we are going to be as a body of people. And so I am going to make a commitment to this board and to the public that when we are interacting as a board, and I see that we're discussing something that doesn't feel like it has anything to do with students, I'm going to ask that board member to, let's back up a little bit and help me relate that to how this is impacting students. Because we need to be able to relate everything that we're doing to how it impacts students in this district.
And if we can't, then we need to go back to the drawing board and figure out, because everything, even when it comes to the financial pieces, when it comes to appointments here and there, we could relate it to students. I feel like a lot of times the public sits in front of us and we speak a secret language up here because there is some subcontext of what's happening that y'all may not be privy to, not because you can't be, but because there's all this background stuff. So I just want to, like, I want us to be as transparent as possible so that everyone is on the same page. So, because it's not fair for you to come sit in a meeting and hear these random things and you're like, what are we talking about? So I'm trying to backtrack and figure out, because we keep talking about tonight, we're talking about like attendance and then different, as we keep moving through the board comments, people are talking about the work is done in committee. So I think what people are referring to, so that we're all on the same page, is that everybody has to do committee work. And I think what they're referring to is that you did not do committee work this year.
You're referring to me?
Yeah, and I think that is what the comments are about.
Right, but if you address me, I'm gonna say something. You're addressing me directly. We covered this before along in executive. So everyone, and you knew my work schedule. So for the transparency, I changed shifts again. We have to go down that road again. I used to work 11 to 7, so everyone could know. COVID came, my shift has changed. I work a 12-hour shift. I told you, you know it, everyone knows it. So you know, again, it's hard for me to attend these meetings because of work. And I told you that. If I can change my schedule when you do the committee meetings, I'll try my best. But
I understand.
It's because of work.
I absolutely understand that. I'm just trying to add clarity of people are making comments and it feels like that everybody doesn't understand why the comments are being made. And I'm just trying to help add clarity. And I think that's where in the last meeting, comments are coming from. I want people to understand why people keep making comments in this room tonight.
It's okay. I mean, I'm cool with it, but my work schedule, and you know that, and you accepted it. When I emailed you, you said it was okay. So why are we talking about it?
Well, as we move forward, though, that's where the work is done.
The committee assignments are not mandatory, according to the New Jersey legislature. They're not. It's okay. I'll try my best, but it's not mandatory for us to have committee assignments. And you know that. I'll try my best to work. When you have it, I'll try to be off. But if I have
Do you know if committee assignments are mandatory?
No. What's that?
Do you know if they are mandatory or
No.
not?
Matt Lee said they were not.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not.
Committees are not
They're not.
mandatory.
They're not.
You can choose to serve or you
Correct.
cannot choose to serve,
Correct.
but a committee assignment is not a
They're not.
mandatory assignment.
That's in black and white.
Right. So, but just knowing that that is where the work is done.
I understand.
And it feels a bit unfair for the rest of us to be doing the work.
Scott, should I quit my job? No, you gotta be reasonable, Scott.
No, but
Should I quit my job?
anyway, that's where the confusion is coming in.
It's not a confusion. Let's clear it for the public. I will try my best to come to the meetings. If you give me an assignment, if I can't, I have to go to work. It's pretty simple.
So that's where the confusion is coming in. That's what the comments are about tonight. So, as far as the comments from Mr. Gaines, I completely hear what you're saying. And my way of being able to combat that last year was to genuinely create leadership within the board that had people from every in every direction, no matter if people considered politically, you know, whatever side, blah, 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 and male, female, in leadership roles, on committees. I did not reserve committees that people feel are more important than others. I gave those, I distributed those as equally and genuinely equally as possible so that it shared leadership amongst the board. I did not, when people come to committee work and do their work, I don't, if people have questions about that work, it doesn't have to run through me. They go directly to the committee chair to find out what's going on. Trying to share the responsibility with everyone. And so, but I acknowledge, I understand what you're saying. And, you know, it's something that we have to work towards. And, you know, we also had a interesting way of, we lost, I guess, 2 women at once, or kind of, I mean, at once on the board in resignations in 1 year. And the board's just not very balanced in general. But it's something that we will continue to keep our eyes on. We will continue, we are going to do, this board has the gifts to continue to make this district successful. We will continue to do that. We will continue to keep students first and remind each other, hopefully we will remind each other to keep our students first. And as we will continue to find different ways to work together and empower each other to do that. But this is a new beginning. It's a new board with a new energy and new, you know, a new beginning. So thank you for sticking it out with us. And can I have a motion? Motion. To, okay. I always count on you two. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
What time is it?
8 o'clock?
7:55?
Early night.
It's still pretty short, 7:55.
Happy New Year. Here's my goodies.
I'm still getting him, right?
It kind of feels good to be back in this room.
I'm gonna